Right, I'm just gonna wait and see if a few people come in first. If someone wants to get up on YouTube, actually, I'll do that now.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, we can start properly because obviously we just want to get into it as soon as. Yeah, it's live. Cool, it's working. Right, welcome back to the Stage View, everybody. The channel for something content for a first live stream in a very long time, the first one of the season. And first and foremost, apologies for that. It's all been a bit hectic over the last couple of months for everybody. Obviously, difficult times as well. I hope you're all doing well with lockdown 2.9 and staying safe. But yeah, essentially, as the title suggests, we're going to be having a chat about the season so far because it's been, quite a successful start. But of course, before we get into it, we have to talk about Pitch Sport. They are sponsoring this video kindly. Once again, if you haven't downloaded that app, make sure you have done so after this video. But yeah, we're going to get into it. Obviously, if you're watching live, if you're watching it after we've done this, yeah, we're just going to have a chat, I guess. But let's start off. I guess we should start off with the first game, boys. Because it feels like so long ago, losing to Crystal Palace away. And it was only 2 months ago, Liam. Like, what were your thoughts after that result? Because obviously we previewed it and we were all confident.
Yeah, it's a difficult game, Crystal Palace. You never know what you're going to get. To be fair, the way they ended last season with not winning in 8 games, you'd thought this has got to be an easy 3 points. But at the end of the day, it shows that even if you dominate the game and if you don't take your chance, you don't win games. And that's what Palace did. At the end of the day, I don't think we really deserve to win. And it's one of those games that we have to learn from. We definitely have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But then God knows where it came from, but that whole high line business. And then we obviously saw it in the cup against Brentford. That was really disappointing, losing to them and getting knocked out, especially when you look at who they got in their cup run. I think who they beat, they were beating West Brom, Fulham, and now they've got Newcastle in their quarter-final. Yeah. Like that would have been a really good opportunity for us to get to a semi-final. And then obviously Spurs, I think the less said about that, the better. But after those first 2 games, I remember Josh, we were saying how worried we were. And again, you start thinking, God, is this going to be a relegation season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in the 2 games you just mentioned, the Saints and Brentford game, we weren't good at all. And we played our strong team against Brentford, and I was really worried, to be honest. And then we were playing a really high line against Tottenham, and they just exposed us. I thought we were actually really good in the first half and actually really unlucky to be level at the break. But in the second half, they just exposed our back line. It was too high. And yeah, Kane and Son did the rest. But since then, we've bounced back brilliantly, and yeah, couldn't have asked for any more, really.
I think if you look on paper at some of those results, it's really shown a difference in this side. I think for me personally, the ones that have stuck out, which some people might sort of gel over a little bit, are the Burnley and Newcastle results. Those are 2 teams that did the double over us last season, Tom. What do you think's changed? What has made us a bit more of a compact, competitive side that can get an ugly win like we did at Burnley? I think that's the best example of that.
I think just having like a consistent team selection, particularly the last sort of few weeks, like the three home wins in a row, 2-0. Burnley one is Newcastle results. Like I say, the record against them is very poor. Even then, like 4 last season as well. Like I remember going to Newcastle a few years ago and losing 3-1. Just like we've got such a bad record against them teams, and in terms of digging it out, I think it's just the way the players we got sort of suits that a little bit at times, especially like Walcott and May in the field. May's sort of perfect for like an away game at Burnley or something like that. So I just think it's just sort of all clicked at once and it's looking really good.
I think that brings me nice on to my next point about those 2 players you mentioned, Ward-Prowse and Romeu. I don't think anyone's. I mean, we saw it in lockdown or in the restart. Sorry, at the end of last season that Ward-Prowse and Romeu had a decent partnership, but we all cried out for a midfielder in the summer. Of course, we got one in Diallo in the end. But Liam, have you been surprised to see how good that partnership's been in the middle of the park so far this season?
Yeah, very surprised. Not going to lie, after the Tottenham game where we lost 5-2, I absolutely slated Romeu. I was saying to everyone on Twitter, a lot of my mates, I was like, we've just got to get a new midfielder. He's too slow. He took about 10 minutes on the ball, but ever since that game, he's been probably one of our best players. He's been absolutely superb. And I don't think the way that Romeu is playing, I can't see a way for Diallo getting in the midfield unless Romeu gets injured or suspended. And fair play to him. It's really good to see that he's looking like the player he was on the Pure.
Yeah,
Better.
no, I think that's a really good point about the pure season he had, where he was our best player, one player of the season. I'm just going to a question from Saints FC Vlogs. Other live watch alongs coming back is a possibility. At the moment, I think with all our schedules, it's quite difficult, especially when the game, you've got one game on a Friday night, then the next week the game's on the Monday night, and then you've got a Saturday at like 5 o'clock, and then a Sunday at midday. It's like I think it's all just a bit too difficult at the moment. I think when fans are back, of course, we're going to have everyone's going to be going to the game. So I understand why people want watch longs at the moment, but yeah, I think at the moment it's a bit difficult. But going back to what we were talking about, partnerships, of course, Ings and Adams, that's another one. Josh, are you surprised to see Shay Adams just hit absolutely sensational form?
Yeah, he's been fantastic this year. I mean, there were some doubters last year. Obviously, he finished the season off really, really well. But this year, his whole game has improved so much. His build-up play and his passing was slightly off last year, but his confidence and holding the ball up this year has been unreal. And his partnership with Danny Ings, he's already assisted twice this year, I think. He's been fantastic. And obviously, there were some questions about his finishing, but he's done really well in that part as well. So yeah, I'm surprised, but I'm not at the same time, because we all knew the player Che was, and he's shining right now.
Yeah, no, I think what was meant, I think Tom mentioned it like a minute or two ago, about a consistent starting lineup. Obviously the Newcastle result, we had a couple of injuries, Newcastle game, so we had a couple of injuries going into that, had to make some changes. But I think seeing a consistent starting 11 has made such a big difference. Every week who is going to be starting on that football pitch, which is something we haven't had for a while. I remember when Ralph first came in, there was so much rotation. Even last season as well. Think of all the young players that have been given opportunities since he's come in, and you think that some of them are nowhere near now. Like I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, God, Callum Slattery was starting games for us in the Premier League as recently as like 2019, and you think, God, like players like him, where have they gone? I think now that we've found our consistent starting 11, it's made it difficult for the players to come in, but it's so refreshing and it's so encouraging to see that we know our best starting 11, and it's a good starting 11 as well. But Tom, are you of the mindset that Hasenhüttl's made a massive difference in terms of how the players are playing, or do you think some of them it's just down to individual quality?
I think a little bit of both, to be honest. You always know that certain players have got individual quality, like Ings, and even Adams, he tore out the championship, so there was always a player there. But I think a lot of it is Hasenhüttl. You've got to give him so much credit. Everyone always talks about a certain result last year, but it's just that turnaround since then has just been ridiculous. And like the way he just gets results out of nowhere, like the Chelsea one, like 2-0 down, or was it half time, just for half time, like that would not have happened like 2 years ago or even last year. So it's just remarkable the sort of work he puts in the training ground, and it really is like sort of showing the rewards at the moment.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point with the Chelsea game. I remember I wasn't watching it. I was I was following BBC Sport live updates and and Twitter and that, and it just sounded like we'd been quite appalling, and we were. Those first 2 goals, were so soft. Individual quality from Werner, you can argue, but we sort of handed it on a plate. But getting that goal before half time was so important, and even going 3-2 down, we'd equalise and behind straight away and carry and get back into that and get a result. I think is a massive credit to the mentality. That's another thing that sort of I've highlighted about what's changed is the mentality. We saw it kind of in spells in the second half of last season, but I think so far this season we just look such a complete, compact team. I don't see any room for any other player to come in. We mentioned Diallo there. We've just spent what was it, 12-13 million pounds on him, and to be honest, I completely forgot he existed at one point. It's so nice to see a strong starting 11. But obviously, we're 8 games in. We're 4th in the league. We were top for what was it? What was it in the end? It was like a day and a half. It was longer than it was like it was longer than I thought. Yeah, obviously, Sky did us a solid by making us the Friday night game, which is obviously why we were top. But even fourth in the league right now after 8 games, going into the second international break with 16 points. I just think it's such a strong turnaround. But obviously, I guess we've got to talk about, you know, the next 30 Premier League games. You know, because me personally, I've spoken to a couple of opposition channels and fans about it. You know, you don't want to get too carried away. I spoke to the Magpie channel after the Newcastle game. You know, I was asked by Matty, you know, where do you think Saints will finish? And I said, you know, I don't want to get carried away. I'm confident that we're going to be in the top half, but I didn't want to say Europe. Liam, are you thinking about Europe? Like, is it too early, or do you think we can dream?
It's well too early. Like, anything can happen. We're fourth in the league. It's absolutely superb. It's just consistency. We've got to keep on going. The 6 games unbeaten, 5 wins, 1 draw. And, you know, we've got a massive couple of games coming up against Wolves and Man United to really test our ability of where we're going to be. We had Chelsea and Everton in 2 consecutive games, got 4 points for them. I'll slap your hand off. But these games against Wolves and Man United, the ones that are really going to test us to see if we're actually going to really be pushing for Europe. But at the moment, I'm still thinking about top half, just a solid season. But you never know.
Yeah, no, I think that's sensible. I think if we're starting to think about Europe after 8 games, when you've got 30 to go, it's a little bit, I don't know, I think it's a little bit premature. But you mentioned those 2 games coming up, which, yeah, like you said, hit the nail on the head. They are massive, because if we win those, and then you look at the couple of games after that, I think after is, I don't know which order, but I think it's Brighton and Sheffield United. That's on paper, that's 6 points right there. You know, you're looking to win those games. So I think consistency, yeah, it's going to have to be a massive thing. If we can get 4 points, in my opinion, from Wolves and Man U, I think, you know, great results. I know Man U have had a shaky start, but you got to beat what's in front of you. They're a quality football team, and I think if we could get some sort of result there,
yeah,
then
I think
it'll show our progress. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man United game is going to be key because they've won their last 10 away games in a row. And that's massive. You can see that they're performing a lot better from Old Trafford. And we've won our last 3 home games in a row. So it's going to be that game that I can see it being draw either side. But, you know, it's still plenty of time left. We've still got Wolves to come. And we've got players to come back from injury. Like, well, I don't even know if Prowse is going to be fit for Wolves. Bertrand might not be fit. And we've still got Ings on the sideline, you know. And if we can perform without them, it shows how good of a side we are at the moment.
Well, from what I read, it sounds like Ward-Prowse's withdrawal from England was just sort of a caution. So I'd like to think he'd be back.
Yeah,
we'll have to see what Ralph says.
That's what I thought
Especially
as well.
Monday as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Gives him an extra day or 2.
I haven't seen him in training all week, so
He
I don't
wouldn't
know.
be. I don't. I think it'd be a case of he'll get on the grass after the international break, and then we'll see where he's at. But I just have to shout out
100%.
Blake Butler for his £5 donation. Massive from you, mate. Really appreciate that. But yeah, I think we just got to keep talking about the next couple of games, really, because if you look at who we've played, Josh, would you say we've had a favourable start to the season in terms of fixtures, or do you think, you know, some of them have, on paper, were going to be difficult and we've done well to get results?
It's been a mixed bag. I think, no, of course, we've done very well, and to get the draw against Chelsea was a good result. But, I mean, as you said before, in the past few years, we've failed to beat teams like Newcastle and Burnley. So, obviously, there's improvements there. But I back us to beat anyone, even in the future, to be honest. Wolves and United are winnable games. You don't really know what United are going to turn up, but I back us to get 6 points, to be honest. I know Ings is sidelined at the moment. It doesn't look as bad as we first thought. I think he's only out for 4 weeks since that Villa game. But I think after these few games, I think we'll be in a good position. Hopefully, we'll still be in the Europa spots before the next international break. But I do back us to do well.
Well, from what I've read, it sounds like he'll be back for around the Brighton away game.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Brighton and Sheffield United,
Yeah.
that's a great run to have our best player back, or one of our best players.
He did say that he felt good and he was going to be back like 10 days before. So, but I think they said that it made it worse why he went in surgery, because he tried training the day after and he just didn't feel good, and that's why it's obviously been a bit longer than we'd hoped. But
it's not worth rushing. It's really not worth rushing.
It's not. He's a
we
player
saw
that, yeah.
we saw last season a couple of times he'd just be on the bench. You know, I think as recently as like West Ham away, I remember him being on the bench just because he had a little niggle. And of course, with his background and how key he is to this team, you don't want to risk it.
I kind of look back at it and think we're 4-0 up against Villa. Do we take the risk and still playing him? But it's something you can't go back on. That maybe if you could, then probably wish you'd come off. But then you don't know he's going to get injured, do you?
No, but and that's it. If we, based on however many games he's played for Hasenhüttl since the start of this last season, he's not come off injured, or he's rarely come off injured. So I don't think. I don't think. I think if that had happened, if he'd scored that worldie at 4-0 and we'd taken him off, I think everyone would have been a bit like, "Hang on a sec, he's having a good game here."
But I definitely think because of what happened against Villa, I think in the future, if we are in a game where we're like 3-0 or 4-0 up in the future, then I think Ralph will be like, learn from my mistake and take him off, give him a rest, and be ready for next week.
Well, we lost control of the game as well.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Of course, I think you look at the Mings goal, maybe could have done better, but the penalty and Grealish's, they were peppering McCarthy's goal. I mean, Dean Smith was right. They had enough opportunities to go and win the game.
If you look at the stats in the game, we had 4 shots on target and 4 goals, 9 shots, and they had like 17 shots, 8 on target, and they were hammering us. But in the day, like we said, if you take your chances, you'll win games, and that's what happened.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I've just gone onto the Saints website to remind myself of the fixtures coming up over the next month, and to be honest, you can't, given how well we've been playing, you kind of lick your lips a little bit, because you've got obviously those 2 difficult games against Wolves and Man U, then Brighton, Sheffield United, Arsenal away midweek, Man City. Those are going to be 2 tough games, but then Fulham, West Ham as well. You kind of look at those and you're just a bit like, God, like we could genuinely still be top 4 come New Year's Day, which is a crazy statement. But Josh, how key do you think is going to be for us to use our squad in the next couple of weeks? Because before we know it, we will have that busy December period, and regardless of the fact that we've got a set starting 11, there are players that will need to come in for rotation. Are you confident of our squad quality?
Yeah, obviously there's a few positions where we do need to add depth, and I think Ralph will in January, especially that left back position we saw against Newcastle. Obviously Stevens isn't a left back. He had to keep recycling the play instead of going forward and crossing it in. So we definitely need to work on that. But I think our depth is okay. I think we've got cover for Romeo and Prowse with Diallo, and Smallbone can come in there. And honestly, even though Ings has been injured, I think Walcott's been terrific so far. I think he's direct and his runs have been brilliant, and obviously provided 2 assists already this year. So I think we'll be okay. Obviously, there will be some rotation. We might see, the likes of Diallo come in. But I think we'll be fine. I back us to beat anyone, to be honest. And I don't know, everyone's in the same boat as well. So I think we'll be fine.
Do you think, Tom, that the nature of this season and how crazy some of the results and performances of certain teams, some overperforming, some underperforming, do you think that's helped Saints?
Yeah, massively, yeah. Obviously, most seasons you expect the big clubs to be up there. And at the moment, other than sort of Liverpool, not really. United right down there, City down there, Arsenal struggling. So it's helped us a lot. And though we've sort of played a few big teams from Chelsea and Spurs, but we haven't played a huge amount of them. So yeah, it's helped us a lot. And the table's so tight. Like if we lose one game, we could easily drop down to like 10. Like it's ridiculously tight. So we've just got to keep pushing, and hopefully we can let the table take shape in the next few weeks.
Just to change the topic a little bit, if you guys are watching, you want to ask any questions, put them in the comments now, because we'll go through a few of the comments. I'm starting to see them stack up a little bit. Yeah. But back to what we were saying about the season and the Premier League in whole. I think I was reading a piece from a journalist the other day, and it was saying how this is the season we've been craving for literally 25 years. About there are 8 genuine title contenders, which is a really, really interesting thing to say. But Liam, as much as we were saying about how we don't want to, overthink things and get too confident, we are one of those 8 at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, I was like to say with Tom's point that Leeds were 3rd when they beat Villa, and they've lost 2 games in a row, and they're in 15th. That's how mad the table is. But Premier League's been absolutely crazy this season. It's been superb to watch. Just wish you'd had fans in there, but it's seriously a difficult one to call because Liverpool are dealing with so many injuries. Like the whole their back four is injured, and they're still third, isn't it? Leicester are top. City are 10th.
First, second, yes,
yeah. It's something you can't predict, and I think we'll know more when it comes to the halfway stage after 19 games of which team is really going to be the consistent side who's pushing for top four or first. Because I think we could see a new Premier League winner this season.
I think, and this is just general Premier League chat, but it would not surprise me to see Spurs win the league this year.
Yeah, 100%. Same one of my mates, Spurs fan, and he's texting me every time Liverpool get an injury saying he's confident as Ali. So I was like, mate, it's a classic Spurs fashion. You'll end up bottoming it somehow. But I think
to us, to be honest, I'm seeing loads of. I'm honestly, as bad as it is, I'm drawing so many like comparisons to our team, and not just our team. A couple of teams in there, to the Leicester team that won the league.
I just say to him, mate, remember who's top of the league? Leicester are top of the league. The last time Leicester were top of the league, mate, you finished third in the top two race. So there's a lot about Spurs there, mate. So, but
I know.
If they win the
exactly
league,
where
fair
you're
enough.
from.
But fair enough.
Yeah.
I'd rather it be Spurs than Liverpool. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, God knows. I think there have been some teams in there who've just been absolutely woeful, like Burnley, Sheffield United. They've been even to be honest.
The same with Sheffield United. They were pushing for Europa last season, mate. Now they can't even do anything. They can't score. They can't defend.
Can't win a game.
Is a massive loss, and so far that wasted probably about 25 million on Brewster. I think it's come back to a bit of karma there for Sheffield United, really. Yeah,
no, I think the fact that there are no fans in. I don't know what you think, Josh, mate, and the question's open to everyone. But do you think that the fact that there are no fans still, that's completely affected how this season's turned out and how crazy it actually is?
Yeah, I think obviously the fans create an atmosphere which encourages the players and motivates the players. So I don't know why there's been so many goals though. I'm not sure what reason behind that is. But the defense has just turned off, switched off, and they've been punished. But I think once the fans are back, there'll probably be less goals. But I don't really know what the answer to the reason to why there's been so many goals. To be honest,
I think it'd be interesting to see how we play once fans come back, because obviously our home form has been toxic with fans in, and ever since I think how many games we lost at home since the fans aren't in. 3 out of
Arsenal and Spurs
and Spurs out, and
Brentford
from how many games we played at home, like 10?
Yeah, 10 and 11.
Something like that. It's mental, but it's the same with anyone there, isn't it? Like United haven't won at Old Trafford this season, and their record at Old Trafford is incredible. Like they haven't lost a game when they're winning at half time at Old Trafford. That's a mental stat.
That's something that I've been quite surprised about. Just generally, there are some teams who were really, really strong post lockdown, and in the restart, they've just not started this season, even though there was only a 6-week break. You think of how we were saying when we previewed the Man United game when we drew at Old Trafford a couple of months ago, we were previewing that like we are playing the best team in the Premier League, and at the time they were, whereas now they're absolute pants, and it's this, and I'm quite relieved, if anything, that we've continued, if not improved, the form that we started in that restart.
Yeah, we're actually second in the I think the lockdown tables. Obviously, since the fans haven't been in, I think we're actually second since then. So I mean, that's unreal.
I think like Spurs as well. They're kind of doing our form from last season. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they've actually won at home in the Premier League this season, but all their wins have been away from home. I think they drew 3-3 to West Ham, lost 1-0 to Everton, drew 1-1 to Newcastle. I don't think they've won at home in the Premier League this season. And that's mental.
Oh, you've stumped me there now.
Yeah, me.
I'm gonna have to go look at their results.
I don't think they've actually won at home this season. They might have, but I can't remember.
They beat Brighton.
Oh, they beat Brighton, yeah. but they could have easily lost that as well, drawn that. Yeah, except for Brighton. You know, it's mad. That's a bit like our form last season. Doing everything away from home, but home form has been quite hard. But
I think that's what
when you're in, yeah.
We said it. We've said it for a long time. You know, we're in the process of being, or you know, we're close to being a really strong side. We just have to find that consistency and that balance between home and away. We said it for the majority of last season, despite how poor we were at times. We said as a group, you know, we need to just find that home form, and because the away form will stick. You know, we'll keep going away from home. We just need to find the results and the consistency at home, and we've started to do that. And you know, 3 consecutive 2-0 wins is something we wouldn't have dreamt of as recently as 3. Like for the last 3 seasons, 2-0 win, a 1-2-0 win is quite rare. Doing 3 in a row, you know, I think it really shows how dominant we've been at home. Obviously besides the Spurs game, but even then we played well. In the sense that every home game so far we've scored 2 goals in each, but then three of those 4 we've kept a clean sheet. We've been the better team by far in all 3 of those games. You know,
I was looking on the Premier League app that we have the most clean sheets in the league, as well as Wolves and Aston Villa. So that's the first time you'd have ever seen that in years. Really, under Pure, where we were scrapping for 1-1 1-0 wins and 0-0 draws.
Yeah. I think Alex McCarthy, you know, let's talk about Alex.
He's been incredible this season.
Yeah, no, really I think he's been a really strong performer. Because I remember us saying, you know, with the team, we were slowly starting to build a recognisable team during the restart, and we said, you know, that revolves around 4 or 5 key players. You know, Ings, Ward-Prowse. You could argue one of the defenders, potentially Bertrand.
Or Vestergaard now.
Vestergaard. But now, what I was going to say is now, I wouldn't even say there are 4 or 5 really key players. I'd say every single one.
All 11.
Armstrong as well. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, we've seen it.
This season, how well we've actually played out from the back. Like McCarthy looks solid on the ball. I just honestly think ever since Vestergaard's come in, his composure and his ability on the ball has literally just improved everyone. And we look so comfortable on the ball. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
we're unbeaten in games he started for ages. So long. I think
last 6 games.
There's 6 games this season, but then you had I saw it's like Bournemouth, Sheffield United last year.
Yeah,
like, it goes back to the lockdown. It goes back to post-lockdown. It's mental.
It is. You know, his transformation has been incredible. That's the same with everyone's players. Everyone knows. It's like McCarthy the other day. We were cruising against Newcastle, 2-0 up. He's done nothing all game, and he plucks out a header from the top bins. That's pure concentration. The other keepers have been like, 2-0 up on board and doing nothing, and he's just plucked one out of the top bins. So
that's
what world class keeper. He's not a world class keeper, but that's what good keepers give you.
I'm just showing this from Oliver Williams about how Vestergaard has kept a clean sheet or scored in every game he started, and it's true. It's true. What do you think that's come down to, Josh? What has he done, do you think? Because I can't believe it. I still can't believe it.
Yeah, the turnaround is incredible. Every time he started last year, people, were like, why has that happened then? But since he's coming at Burnley, I think his passing is so integral to our play. Obviously, Bednarek's good at that, but Vestergaard's even better. Both feet. He can play balls with both feet. He can ping a ball like Van Dijk. He wins every single ball in the air. And he just breaks the lines every time he passes, and is so integral to, the way we play, the way we counter. I think obviously Ralph's shown belief in him. He dropped Stevens for Vestergaard in the Burnley game, and Vestergaard's just repaid that faith that he's put in him. I don't know what's gone on, but he's just put his head down and he's played unreal
ever since he got that haircut.
Yeah,
it pretty much. That's it. Like, he's winning balls. He's winning his headers. I think when he came in, we never really criticised his distribution. We always knew he could ping it. It was just the defending, some of his positioning, his tackling, or his lack of tackling, or his lack of winning. Winning aerial duels.
A threat from set pieces now. Like every set piece you go, Vestergaard, get your head on that, and he does.
Yeah.
And last year, he really had the problem of where he was 6'7", but he just could not jump for his life, and he wouldn't win anything. But now he actually leaps like a salmon in the air, and it's honestly, I'm so happy to see him because we all knew he was a great defender when he came in. It was just whether he was going to prove that or not, and he has. And 18 million looks like a bargain now for him.
Yeah. He got.
Yeah, go on, Josh.
Yeah, he got caught flat-footed so many times last year. Got turned, he got spinned, but as you've seen this year, he just had Calvert-Lewin in his pocket and all these other world-class strikers that he's come up against. So yeah, he's just been terrific.
I think really Ralph in his has game. Adapted to his game. Yeah. I think Ralph has actually gone like, you know what, we have to actually adapt to your play style, and obviously we stopped the high line because we know he isn't going to be quick enough for that, and it just looks so easy for us now with him in defence. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, it leads me nice on to my next point. I was going to mention our transfers from the summer and how they fitted in. And I would have thought by now we would have seen Mohamed Salah, who I think maybe might have come in if Bednarek had missed the Newcastle game with that hand injury. But he's nowhere near the team at the moment, is he, Tom?
No, it's a really strange situation. He's not even like playing for the under 23s or anything at the moment. Like, it just seems to be a bit out of it. I don't know. He's always in the training pictures that I see and stuff like that, but something can't be quite right. There's something that's not been said that isn't quite there, because you don't pay that sort of money for a centre back. And I know he's still quite young, but he just seems to be really out of favour. And I don't know. Maybe he's given him time, but the season's 2 months old now, so he's had plenty of time.
He's got plenty of time, and I think when we do come to Christmas time and we've got a much busier fixture schedule, then maybe we'll see him come in. I think it's a case of he didn't play for Valladolid during their restart in La Liga because he had his eyes on the move, and so he hasn't played football. And I think he had a bit of an injury as well, and it's just taking a bit of time. You've got to be so ready as a defender, in particular with the high-paced nature of the Premier League. So I'm not surprised it's taken a bit longer. I'm surprised, to be honest, that he's been kept out of the team this long by the strong performances, in particular Vestergaard. I think Bednarek's been all right. I don't know about you boys, but personally, I think if you look at our first choice 11 at the moment, I'd probably say Bednarek's been the worst performer. Not saying he's had a bad season, but I'd probably say him, Redmond potentially. I think they're the ones that have been a bit underwhelming, because that leads me nicely onto that question.
It's a dodgy one though, isn't it? Because I think Bednarek's been quite underappreciated because of how well Vestergaard has played. Because Bednarek hasn't really had to do the job because he's had a solid centre half next to him. When Bednarek was playing with Stevens, he really struggled because Stevens was quite lacklustre sometimes. He was giving away the ball a lot, and it's struggle because Bednarek and Vestergaard have always been a partnership now. I thought, this could be quite solid. But I think if Salisu was to come in, I think Bednarek would be the one who's dropped.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah. But I think he is underappreciated a little bit, because you saw him in the Villa game. He comes off at half time and the game ends 4-3. So
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Stevens coming at half time. We've conceded 3 goals. I can tell that Vestergaard looks a lot more comfortable with Bednarek than he does Stevens, because Stevens he's quite the same player as Vestergaard, because he's confident on the ball. He'd be playing centre back, whereas Bednarek's more the disciplined one, the one who will just get out, and Vestergaard will be like the risky one who tries to look for passes, and he does, but it works. He loves a pass inside to Ward-Prowse or to Armstrong when he comes off the right and he comes inside into the hole. That's the way we play. And Walker-Peters can then, once Armstrong goes in the hole, Walker-Peters has the freedom of the right wing. That's the way we play, and it just works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think he brings a confidence. I think he definitely brings a confidence to the team. I think that's what we missed. When Stevens came on, I think he just makes everyone a bit more nervous, which is a shame because he did. Stevens did have a good season last year. He completely turned around what was a difficult time for him. But now Vestergaard's turned his Saints career around completely, and he's become one of the best centre backs in the league on form, which is a crazy sentence to say. But another signing that we've mentioned is Theo Walcott. He has been playing. It was a bit of a surprise, really. I think we all said that a right-sided midfielder could, as backup for Armstrong, would be a decent little buy or addition if it's a loan. And obviously we got Walcott on loan, but I don't know what you thought, Liam. Well, and again, it's open to everyone. If you saw it coming, in particular, someone like Walcott, I know he's got that link with the club, having been an academy product, but 31 years of age, it doesn't really feel like it fit the Hasenhüttl model. But in fairness to him, he's been class.
Yeah, not gonna lie. When I first heard the news that Walcott was potentially coming out, I was like, really? He's a player that's probably just going to play a couple of games and get injured, or more likely just to be there for the youth players. And I regret everything that I've said. He's been absolutely brilliant. He's actually improved the side. He's given us a different balance. He's a player who can play on the right and left up front. And for 31 years old, he's, like he said in a couple of his interviews, he's probably in the fittest way he's been in his career. And he's a player that just brings something different to us. I think the only thing I'd say for him is he really does need to improve a bit on his final third. He's got the touch, and we saw a couple of times against Newcastle there. He's doing everything right. It's just the last pass, or whether he's taking another touch instead, or he's shot at the wrong time. But then that will come with, like you said, that will come with time, and I'm sure it'll be a player that will probably be an impact.
Yeah, honestly, when he had that chance almost 1-on-1 against Newcastle, I just thought the ball was going to nestle in the back of the net. I think we all did.
He did everything right, and obviously, the other day it didn't go in, but I think he couldn't have done any much more. Except maybe wrap it round, but you can't do much more than that as a striker.
I think he needed to. I think obviously you can't really compare them as players at the moment, but I think the story is quite similar to Bale. He needed to go somewhere where he was loved again. He needed to go somewhere where he was going to play football and be appreciated. Obviously, fans aren't in the stadiums at the moment, but at Everton, the fans weren't behind him at all. He was never going to play, and he just needed to come somewhere where he was loved. Where he's obviously adored by the fans.
He'll have a massive reception. He was 16 years old when he made his debut, and coming back to St Mary's. Probably
you can see how much it means to him. He was crying in his post-match interview after Newcastle.
He loves the club, and that's players that you want. That'd be the same with Bale and Tottenham. He loves Tottenham, but it's one of those ones where I think it's just the right fit at the right time.
Yeah, no, I think it is, and it'll be interesting to see how he gets on for the rest of the season. Of course, we want to see him score that goal.
100%.
But I think he's been a good addition, and in fairness, he's kept Redmond out of the team as well.
But I think Djenepo has as well. I know it's only been a couple of games, but we've been talking about players like Vestergaard who've really developed in their career. And Djenepo against Newcastle I think he was my man in the match for me. Defensively, in the past, he's looked so clumsy, but he made the most.
He was a better left back than Stevens that game. He was a better left back than Stevens.
He was superb. I really thought in the game I was thinking Depper at left wing is the right decision, but with Stevens at left back, I don't know. I thought because it's a difficult one because Stevens is literally going to defend. He isn't going to attack. So Djenepo is he's going to have to do it all himself. And he was absolutely incredible. Yeah, absolutely incredible.
No, I completely agree with that. I think Redmond's been a bit disappointing personally for me. I think now that we've got Djenepo fit, of course, it's frustrating when Djenepo has his injury every 3 games or whatever it is.
Yeah, the fact Redmond got man the match against Everton as well was an absolute shock. He was the worst player on the pitch and he got man the match.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what it is because he wasn't great or he wasn't that good during the restart anyway. I think now that we've got Djenepo back and he's relatively fit, we just need to get him, a consistent run of games because I think we're starting to see the player. We're starting to see the player there.
Exactly. It's the same with Armstrong now, isn't it? He's such a key player, but the guy's made glass as well. Like obviously, I'm watching him right now. He looks okay, but every time he goes on an international break, he somehow gets injured. Last time he got COVID, the time before he got a thigh injury. And, Ralph Fons, I think Ralph hates him going away. And it's the same with Vestergaard as well. He went away yesterday, even though we refused. It's like that. But obviously, he mustn't have to quarantine. Otherwise Ralph wouldn't have let him go.
I think I'm sure there's some sort of rule for elite player, elite sports people.
There was though, but that's why a lot of clubs refused because of Denmark I don't know if it was their FA or the government said it doesn't matter if you're a elite sport, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. But now it's like, surely the guy's getting tested every 2 days for COVID. So what's the point?
Yeah, no, I don't really know, and I don't really understand at the moment. Let's just hope he's available for Wolves. But looking at the other two permanent signings we made, Diallo, I mean, we've not really seen much of him. I think he's probably played about 20 minutes for the club so far across a couple of games. Some of them he looked all right. I think against Villa he struggled, obviously gave away that penalty. But then the other one, of course, Kyle Walker-Peters, and he's become one of the integral parts of the team. We saw during restart how good he was on loan. It was great that we could get a decent price for him permanently, but I think he's even improved. I think he's been better than he was in restart. I think he's been absolutely top class, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, he's unbelievable. What a steal it was for 12 million. So good going forward, but at the same time, defensively, people questioned it last season. They thought maybe it was too weak, but defensively, he's just been fantastic. He hasn't let many players beat him this season, and also his just overall game is just such a well-rounded fullback now, and it looks like a really good signing. And he's only 23 as well, so still has a whole career ahead of him. I think we
said when he joined that, and when he was playing well last season, that it could honestly be a similar deal to Bertrand. You know, a player who was at a big club, didn't really get in, and he's here for ages. But it would be quite funny if Saints went on to win the league and he had to go and do it with Saints as opposed to Tottenham. Same with Walcott, you know, being at Arsenal and then coming back here to win the league. It's almost like we're the island of misfit toys, and that's I hate to say it, but that's why I'm drawing comparisons. I need to stop. Really, it's actually getting bad. That's why I'm drawing the comparisons to the Leicester team. But moving on, I think let's do this. Let's talk about the next month and where we're going to be in the table come January the 1st when we're in 2021. Because I'm going to start off, like I said, with those figures.
I'll look at the fixtures quick.
Yeah, I'll read them out for the purpose of the stream. I'll read them out. So Saints go to Wolves next Monday, and then they host Man United on the Sunday, and then we've got Brighton away, Sheffield United at home, Arsenal away, Man City at home, Fulham away on Boxing Day, and then a Monday night game against West Ham at home 2 days later. I'm thinking that by after that West Ham game, we'll be. I will say we'll have a spot in the top 6. I'm still going to be bold, and I think we're going to continue consistency and pick up a couple wins.
I think probably like 7.
Yeah, so I've just looked at the fixtures. I think by the West Ham game, we'll pick up another 17 points. I'm going to be quite confident. So we're going to be on 33 points by Christmas, and we'll be in the top 8.
Yeah, I think I would absolutely take that right now. I think if we can have a season where we're in the top half for basically the entire campaign, I think that'd be a really, really strong season. Of course, you think about Leicester last year, Sheffield United as well. They were up there for ages when we were under Koeman. I think especially the first season when we were 2nd, 3rd, 4th for ages. Obviously, you think Saints could stay up there, but it's all about consistency now. But I've got a few questions that I've written down. I think let's go to the comments because I've been having a few glances and I think there have been a few comments. So, of course, we had the really generous donation. Josh said, I'd love to see us get Europa, but we prefer to have a solid season, get more depth and go for it next year. I think that's a fair comment, but if we get it, I don't think anyone's going to complain.
Yeah, I think it'll attract more players.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is that I didn't really mention, we've got an FA Cup run to come in a month and a bit, where obviously the the Carabao Cup or whatever it's called now, the Papa John's Cup or whatever
Papa John's Cup.
Obviously that was disappointing. We mentioned at the beginning of the stream that you look at Brentford's run since beating us, and we could have had a very good chance of getting to a semi-final. So it'll be interesting to see if we continue our good form and have an FA Cup run. Do you think we should sell Redmond as he hasn't been great for us? And then it goes on to Gineppo, and we were saying we'd be starting Gineppo at the moment, but Josh, would you be selling Redmond in January? Personally, I wouldn't.
No, not in January. No, maybe in the summer we might reevaluate, and if a replacement comes about, then we might need to sell.
But where does Nathan Redmond go if he leaves Saints? He doesn't go to a top 6 team. He doesn't go. In my opinion, I think there are few Premier League teams at the moment that would be happy to pay. I'd be saying 15 million quid, let's say, for Redmond, because he signed, I think it was like a 4-year contract extension last summer. So coming into next summer,
he's got what, three years left, I think.
He'd have 2 or 3 years left.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd go for anything more than 15 quid. 15 million quid.
15 quid.
yeah. Well, he has been that bad.
Yeah, go on. Get him off.
I mean, do you think it's harsh if he was to be in this sort of bracket of a sort of promotion chasing championship side? Do you think he's too good for that?
Yeah, he's too good for that. I think he'd be good at a club like Palace, or if Watford.
I think Sheffield United would do him all right.
Yeah. He's a good player on his day, Redmond, but at the moment you can't see him starting over Gineppo, or I think Teller has a better chance than him. But he's a player, if we would sell, we'd have to replace. And I don't know, he's been a good servant for us, but if we want to take the next step, he isn't the player for us.
Yeah, well, he's a player that thrives on confidence. I think in the first
100%.
year Ralph took over, he was actually one of our players of the season, first year Ralph. Yeah. But since then, he's just not been brilliant. But, if he gets his confidence back up, he could, get a starting place again, but who knows?
Anthony's put a few comments down. Leicester fan, of course. I think you guys could sneak into the top 8. I don't think it'll be sneaking. I think it'll be comfortably finishing in the top 8. But he's also said, I take Redmond at Leicester over Gray, which is an interesting one.
They got Europa League on them, so they need a bit more options.
Yeah, that's true.
But Mara Gray doesn't even play anymore, though. I thought he was quite a good player a couple of years back, because they rejected a bid from Bournemouth for 25 million a couple years ago, and I bet Leicester will be like, we should have accepted that.
Yeah.
Or it takes a couple of injuries and he's straight back in. If we did reach Europe next year, it'd be needed. We'd have
that's the same. That was the same with Redmond in the lockdown. He was only playing because Gineppo and Buffon were injured. That's the only reason he was playing.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. These are questions I prepared, but over the past, obviously, 8 games in the league, who would you say, and this goes to everyone, who would you say has been the player of the season so far? For me, I've obviously got a couple because everyone's been class, but I just think that Ward-Prowse has been he's been absolutely terrific. It's like he's taken the next step, and he's now that player that I imagine will be starting to be linked with your Man Uniteds, your Chelseas, your Arsenals, your big top 6 teams. I don't know about what you guys think, but for me, I think he's been sensational.
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint a certain specific player because obviously everyone's been brilliant. I think the standouts have been, as you said, Ward-Prowse. Vestergaard has been unbelievable, just completely transformed our defence since he's come in. I think
if you talk about players, I think it's fair to say that the players that probably will get more attention from Saints fans are the ones that have turned it around. You said Vestergaard there. Adams, I think Adams is definitely in that category.
McCarthy as well.
Yeah, McCarthy. I remember the absolute slander McCarthy got after the Arsenal game, and it was just a bit like when we lost 2-0 and he had that mistake, and it's just a bit like, grow up. Honestly, he's a class goalkeeper, and he's showed that this season. I have no doubt that he's going to be easily our number 1 for at least the rest of the season. I don't think Force is knocking on the door anytime soon. Obviously, guns on out and on. And to be honest, I don't even think we'd need to look at a new keeper in the summer. But for me, I think if we're talking about best players, of course you've got the standard one with Danny Ings. He's been great. He's been the same player. He's looked sharp. But I think you have to highlight the players who've turned it around, because there have been some real big turnarounds, with Vestergaard probably being the main one. But yeah, I think that's probably a good time to start wrapping it up. I think it's obviously a very exciting time at the moment. We try not to get carried away, as we've said, through this stream. But yeah, I've enjoyed this. I think we'll definitely have to do one at least at the halfway stage or New Year, just see where we are. But to be honest, for me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I can't pinpoint a moment when it's going to stop. I just think we're going to keep being consistent and keep getting results.
Yeah, I believe in Ralph. I back us against any team, and I think we'll continue our form. Maybe not, our winning streak, but I think we've got a good chance to get in Europe this year, or at least top 7. So I think.
I think I completely agree with you. I'd like to see a run in the FA Cup, because I just feel like this season has been the best opportunity we've had to go and get a European spot. Yeah.
I think we're definitely overachieving with the squad we've got compared to others.
That's it, and that's it. I think that's someone put it on Twitter, and I think it was a really good point. When you draw comparisons to Koeman, that's obviously the natural comparison you're going to make for Ralph.
Yeah,
I think if you look back at the team we had under Koeman, you could even argue 6th was underachieving with some of those players.
Yeah, well, that season, if you look back at it, I think it was the game of 13 where we didn't win in 13, or it was like 1 win in 13.
Yeah, the Christmas
we just won a couple of games, so we would have probably finished second. Yeah. Yeah, we would have been top 4.
Yeah, we were awful. We were awful for quite a while.
Yeah, we would have been
finishing.
We'd have had Champions League, mate.
Yeah, no, I know.
3 points off that year as well.
Yeah,
that's so annoying.
Exactly.
I know, and then I think you look at the if you look at the team we've got now, I definitely think we're certainly overachieving. I think because we've seen some of those players under different managers or under different systems, or when form's not gone quite right under Ralph, and they've looked nowhere near the players that they are now. I definitely think he's got them overachieving, which is obviously great. It's great for us, but I don't know. I think being a pessimistic Saints fan, everyone's wonders when it's going to stop. But for me, at the moment, I've seen no evidence as to why.
You just got to keep on going. You just got to take it game by game.
If
we lose against Wolves, it's not the end of the world. It's one of those ones where I think if we lose one game, Saints fans on Twitter are going to have a meltdown. It's like, seriously, just live in the moment. We're playing well. Just stop being negative.
Yeah, and that's it. Everyone will have to accept that if we'll lose a game, and if we play well in that game, fair enough. But that's it. We are playing well, and there's almost a bit of an arrogance. There's clearly a confidence, but almost a little bit of an arrogance about us. We're very confident in our own ability, and I think it's gelled. I think we've been waiting for it all to click, and to Ralph's needed a bit of time to implement his system. But now
you always need time to adapt, though. That's the same with anyone. Like, we knew when Ralph was coming, we know he was a top class manager at Leipzig. We just have to give him time, and it's paid at the end of the day. And look where we are now to the team that he took over. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think
the team he took over. I think massively. There's still a lot of the players are still the same. Like, you look at it on paper.
Well, he hasn't had resources. He hasn't had much backing in
Exactly. I think if Ralph has the backing of like West Ham does, or a team like West Ham, they're very underachieving. Look at the squad they've got. Yeah.
Everton, yeah.
Everton as well, mate. We'd be up there, even though we are at the moment.
We would.
But we'd be up there.
But that makes the job that he's doing now even more impressive.
It looks even better. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm loving every moment of it. I think we just got, like Liam said, we just got to sort of appreciate it whilst we're good, because like you said, we could go and lose at Wolves and then go on a 5 or 6 game winless run. You just never know, especially with this crazy season. But I think we're going to end it there. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Of course, if you're watching this, I'm after we've streamed, you know, leave it a like, of course. Comment what you think of the season so far, and you know how you're feeling ahead of the next 30 games. We've still got a very, very long way to go. But yeah, like I said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you very soon ahead of the Wolves game in the